My name is Sal Rosa. This is an interview of my grandfather, Sal Rosa. The topic is my grandfather, an immigrant from Italy. Question number 1. How old were you when you came to America?
When I came to America, I was 13 years old, and I came together with my 2 brothers and a sisters and my parents. And this took place in 1955.
Question number 2. How long did it take you to come here, and what transportation did you use?
I come from an area in Italy called Sicily. It's the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea. From the hometown of Ragusa, we traveled by train to the largest city in Sicily called Palermo. There was a large seaport where we took a ship named Saturnia. We traveled through the Mediterranean Sea, through the Straits of Gibraltar. We stopped at Lisbon, and that's in Portugal, the capital city of Portugal. And then from there we started crossing the Atlantic. We then reached a city in Canada, in Canada, called Halifax, and from there we came down to New York City. The ship took exact 12 days approximately, and 4 hours by train, and then once we landed in New York, we spent a good part of the day processing our immigration, inspection of travel baggage and so on, and it took just about the good part of the day. And then by car from the pier in New York City to home in New Jersey near Hackensack.
How long did it take you to learn the English language?
That was one of the most difficult problems that I've ever encountered. I was 13 years old. I was put in a class, the 6th grade, of approximately 25 students, and I understood no one. Everyone spoke English. The things that came easy were mathematics, because I was familiar with a good portion of them, but the difficulty came with the English language itself. After 3 months, finally I began to open my mouth, because initially you're bashful or scared to talk, or you say it wrong. But once I started to speak those few words, then I learned very rapidly. And within a 5 months period before the school year was over, I was speaking English fluently.
Why did you come here?
It wasn't my idea. I was 13 years old, so it wasn't really my decision. But there's a little background here. My grandfather used to be a sailor, and when he came to this country back in the early part of the century, very early, he jumped ship. Now, he was married and he had 2 daughters in Italy, so he wrote to his wife to come over to America. And when she did try to come to America, one of the children did not pass her physical because of her eyes. She had trachoma. So, and that's my mother. My mother stayed behind in Sicily. She was 8 years old, and she lived with her grandmother for that period of time. So we stayed apart all this time. Then World War II started. As some of you may know, the United States and Italy were fighting against each other back in those days, between Germany with Hitler and Mussolini in Italy. So we lost all contact until after World War II. Subsequently to that, we applied and were granted visas, so we all came here to join the grandparents. And my mother, after 43 years, after 35 years, at an age of 43 years, she finally saw her mother again because of her trachoma in the eyes.
Where did you meet your wife?
That's an accident because we lived apart. We both come from the same general area, not the same towns. The towns that we come from, they were apart about a 30 minutes drive. It's like Washington and Gettysburg. But we met here. We met here in a place of work. After school, I would go to work to the sweater factory. And she came to work there. This was 1958. And that's where we met, and we stayed in touch ever since. And then subsequent to that, we got married, and here we are.
What was your first job?
Well, the first job, as I just finished saying, was at this sweater factory. I used to work in the shipping department. I had left school, but then when I was 18, I joined the Air Force, and I stayed in the military for a period of 4 years. I traveled quite a bit around the United States and outside the United States too. When I returned from the military, went back to college, and that's where we are now. But after the college, I'm now a mechanical engineer. I'm operating in research and development department.
Did you ever go back to Italy, and why?
I went back to Italy for the first time after 10 years that I had left. Since then, 1965, we have returned, me and my wife, every 2 or 3 years, visiting. And it's generally to visit the family. There's still a lot of family members there, and friends, and we continue those ties. Now it's with an airplane in a few hours, relatively few hours. It's an 8-hour flight between New York and Rome. It's certainly a lot shorter than the boat rides of 12 days when I came in 1955, or my grandfather's across Atlantic, where it took about 25, 29 days at the early part of this century.
Which do you like better, Italy or America, and why?
Well, when I was 13, I guess I liked Italy a lot, because that's all I knew. Then when I came here, I went to the school system here, went in the military here. I adapted to the language and the culture of the American society. Of course, we still have ties with Italy, but having adjusted to this culture here that we have, although I feel comfortable going back and forth because I still speak the Italian language fluently, read it, and I write it, still my preference is this country. Because once you adjust to this type of social life, that becomes your preference. So the country that I like to live in is the United States.